Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Play Megaman World 2. I was about to say in the last part we did Megaman World 1, but I guess this is technically a Megaman World series LP. And oh my god, this level select music hurts my ears. Get to Metal Man, quickly. Yeah, Megaman World 2's soundtrack has a certain ear-grating effect to it. I don't know what it is about it exactly, but that one sound channel just really does not work well. Either way, when you're playing yourself, you're going to know something almost immediately. Mega Man doesn't handle like Mega Man 2 Mega Man in the NES days. As with Mega Man 1 on the Game Boy, this is a combination of Mega Man's 2 and 3, and because of such, Mega Man has the slide. Which honestly doesn't help too much, because actually a lot of the stages are designed around you and having it. At least it's not the power slide from 5. Yeah, that was not needed. Either way, Metal Man, weirdly enough, his theme isn't even close to his actual theme in Mega Man 2, as far as I can detect. But honestly, his stage is probably the easiest to start off with, hence why I chose it, because a lot of it is familiar territory from Mega Man 2, but watch out for that stupid chandelier right there that's hidden in the ceiling. Every single mechanic in this stage is one we've seen before, and a lot of the enemies don't take too much damage, so it's honestly the best choice you could take at the moment. Though I will say, actually, as a whole, I know I said last time that most of the Mega Man World games are harder than the respective partnered number on the NES. This is the one exception. Mega Man 2 on the Game Boy is a bit easier than Mega Man 2 on the NES in my eyes. Mind you, it also helps that it's shorter, because Mega Man 2 is like, what, an hour? Maybe? I don't know. It's shorter either way. And I really am going to keep on switching between Mega Man on the Game Boy and Mega Man World, aren't I? Oh well. And that's just dick design. Get out of there, Metar. Metal. I always switch between those, especially. Honestly, yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about the stage. That's going to be a running theme probably in this game, because as with usual, these are mostly just retreads of stages we've technically seen before, just with new designs and slightly new gimmicks. And we can't even reach that yet. That one-up we'll be able to reach after we beat the first 4 bosses, but we can't backtrack, so... Well, can't get that for now. I do have to admit, though, while this song isn't as good as the NES Metal Man theme, it's still a fine melody on its own. I wouldn't mind hearing it get remixed at some point. In fact, I wonder how common are remixes from these games. 5 aside, because I know these games aren't horribly popular in the fan base, all things considered compared to the NES games, but I still think they're worth the time. Either way, time for Metal Man. He's actually much easier than he was in the NES version. Why? He only, as far as I'm aware, jumps and throws the things. He doesn't reverse the conveyor belt at all. Like, I think he only stays on that one position. So, he just jumps and throws, making him a lot easier because he doesn't jump from side to side. I think he might still jump from side to side, but I've never actually seen him do it, so... easier boss fight. Booyah. It does take a bit of practice to learn the jumping timing in order to dodge both metal blades, but honestly, he's the easiest choice you got at the start, so go after him, and you should beat him fairly easily. After beating him, we once again get metal blades. A very high ammunition weapon which you can throw in all 8 directions. And you can spam fire them, and it is awesome. I'm not sure if they're actually more useful in the original Mega Man 2 or this. Mind you, as people who have been following the channel for a while now, I generally don't use special weapons that much, because I'm much more of a fan of the Buster. Either way, hey look, Rush is in the game! And we get Rush Marine, which is the same as it was in Mega Man 3. It allows you to hover through water. Either way, next up is Woodman. Now, I might as well go over this game's story, because it actually has a bit of a unique one. This time, Wily's actually stolen an experimental time skimmer, time machine from the Kronos Institute, and traveled an oddly specific amount of time in the future, 37.426 years. While he's doing that, Mega Man has been sent to investigate an underground passageway containing the Robot Masters here. And then, well, stuff just gets weird, because that time machine gimmick only really comes into play twice in the game. Kind of an odd story, but yeah, I've seen worse. And the way it's presented in the manual is especially weird. It's like, Light talking to Mega Man through him. Yeah, yeah, here it is. Light tells Mega Man that Wily stole the thing, and Rush sniffed at the Wily robots down here. Either way, Metal Blades are great, and I'm actually going to be using them a bit this time, unlike my Mega Man 2 LP. Also, how did that touch me? Hitbox dissonance, though I only now realize that wait, I'm underwater, I can use Rush Marine. Rush Marine actually has a bit of momentum to it, unlike Mega Man 3. But its ammo consumption also is a lot slower. So you technically have it for longer, but it's not terribly useful aside from like the 2 stages you can really use it in. It helped me out there though, so I guess it's worth going after Metal Man first overall. Also, that life energy is just taunting me, because if I hadn't touched that one thing and just Rush Marine underneath that entire stage, I wouldn't have died there. I probably would have made it through this entire stage without dying. Curses. Which is actually a big achievement for me, because usually, it's an achievement for me getting through a Mega Man stage without getting hit, which is also incredibly rare. But not dying in a Game Boy game, that works for me, because I rarely play these. Actually, when did I first play Mega Man 2? Mega Man World 2? I want to say it was 2006? A while back, either way, and I was not thoroughly impressed the first playthrough. Either way, time for Woodman. He's weak against the Metal Blade, so get that out. And he fights the exact same way he did in Mega Man 2. He summons a leaf shield around him, which he throws after a few seconds, while also sending some leaves in the sky to fall from from the top of the ceiling. Though there's actually less leaves on the ceiling this time, and as you can see, if you spam Metal Blades, he is incredibly easy. That might be a running theme. And for beating him, we get that leaf shield ability, which is the exact same as it was in Mega Man 2. When you activate it, it stays around you, but the moment you press a direction, it flies in it. So if you have it equipped and you press right, it'll fly right. And because of that, we already know who to go after next if you know Mega Man 2's weaknesses. It's time for Airman. And his stage is probably the most like his original. And I actually really do like this song here. Also, these drills do not look pointy anymore. They actually look kind of dull. Really, it's more or less the exact same stage it was in the NES, just slightly rearranged. All the same, what's the term? Assets and everything, really, just Game Boy-fied. Though the faces on the ground look a lot derpier in this version. I don't know why. Yeah, because this is still a remix of his NES theme, but Airman's theme in the NES was already one of my favorites. So this is actually a really good remix in my eyes of it. It takes a bit too long to get to its actual melody, though. Oh yeah, this is kind of stupid. I am at the exact point that this thing needs to be to spawn, and because of that, it constantly just spawns, and I died because of it. Gotta love NES program, well, Game Boy programming, guys. I'm so used to saying NES programming at this point. Welp. Oh god, I'm actually starting to say whelp in real life. My Skyping is coming into my actual verbs. Verbalistics, no. Either way, there's nothing really to talk about with a lot of these stages, because it's a lot of stuff we've seen before. Which is the reason I know quite a few LPers that also do Mega Man stuff skip the Game Boy games, aside from 5. But I felt like being a completionist, oh not completionist, what's the term? Thorough, so I might as well play them all. Heck, even these guys returned from Mega Man World 1. Usually the Metools are the only enemies that are shared between the games, but nope, the Mega Man World games really like proving me wrong with that. And with that, I think we're actually at Airman, yeah. Like Mega Man 2, weak against the Leaf Shield. And Airman's pattern is largely the same as it was in the NES game. He fires a few tornadoes that you have to dodge, and I think it's like every 2 volleys of them, he'll jump to the other side of the room. However, Leaf Shield hits him numerous times, and my one spare leaf happened to hit him. God, and people thought they were easy with their weakness in the NES games. Oh boy. And for beating that, we once again get, for beating him rather, we once again get Air Shooter, which when you fire it, fires 3 tornadoes in an upward angle. It's not terribly useful, but we also get Rush Jet, which you might think, this is past Mega Man 4's release, they nerfed it, right? Nope. Rush Jet controls exactly like it does in Mega Man 3. You can go in any direction you want. And I love it. Though they would, yet again, nerf it in Mega Man 3, oddly enough. Mega Man World 3. That is just something that I have to get used to saying. Either way, even more so than Airman, actually, in my eyes, Crash Man's stage is the exact same as it was in the NES game, down to the platform placements. Though this one's a bit different, I suppose. But it's honestly not very interesting. Noticing a theme here that the only really interesting stages in the Mega Man World games are the ones that are completely original. I suppose that's kind of due course, though, when these are Robot Masters we've seen before and everything. Though I like this song enough, I think it's a remix of his NES theme, I can't quite tell. It's catchy enough, though. I actually hear a bit more of, Woodman's theme in the background, though, with the bass beat, and that's actually a pretty good mountain effect there. Gotta love early-ish Game Boy. Oh, sweet, thank you. Oh, actually, there's a bit of an abuse you can do in this game, seeing the energy refill there. You notice how, unlike other Mega Man games, for the most part, when you get weapon energy or life energy in this game, it doesn't do the usual screen pause for it to refill. Because of that, if you grab weapon energy, like a large one with a weapon that's almost full, and you switch to another weapon, it'll actually start filling up that weapon as well. So there's a bit of an abuse you can do there due to the fact they didn't quite think that through, and I'm not sure if you can make this jump normally, so I'm just gonna Rush Jet. Abusing game mechanics. Yay! And yeah, I think there's not sufficiently other things to talk about at this stage. So I might as well mention something I actually forgot to mention back in Mega Man World 1. The second Robot Master boss rush that was going on there late in Mega Man World 1, rather. I forgot to mention that a lot of the bosses actually have 2 weaknesses. Flashman is not only weak to the Ice Slasher, but he's also weak to Atomic Fire. Heatman's only weak to the Bubble Lead, though. Bubbleman is weak to either Rolling Cutter or Quick Boomerang, so I guess there's kind of a correlation there. And Quickman is also weak to the Time Stopper. I used both his weaknesses against him, didn't I? So yeah, I'm sorry I forgot to mention that, but it's not entirely too pertinent because, yeah. And with that, now I'm officially out of things to talk about with this stage. Other than what the hell is it made out of? It reminds me of, I mentioned it a while back, and I know I've mentioned this series plenty of times. If any of you guys have played Artanelico Melde of Alemia, there's this one area late in the game that's basically like a giant tuba, French horn thing. And this reminds me of that very slightly. Either way, time for Crashman. He's weak against air shooters to get that out. And Crashman, get this, works the exact same way he did back in NES. He jumps when you fire. And that's why air shooters his weakness. He takes more hits from air shooters this time though, so he's actually a bit more tough. His crash bomber, when he fires it, goes directly at you and then explodes after a few seconds. But honestly, nothing too interesting of a fight. And that's the end of Crashman. Or if you were actually paying attention to the boss select, Clashman. They mistranslated his name again. Well, for the first time actually, because I didn't play the Japanese version of Wily Wars. Either way, for beating him, we once again get Crash Bomber, which just shoots forward a bit and then will latch onto a wall. And after a few seconds, it explodes. It's useful, I suppose. And we also get Rush Coil, which unlike that you usually start with. It works the exact same way as it does in other games. It doesn't work the Mega Man 5 way. When you summon him, he lands on the floor and you can jump on him. And here we are at Dr. Wily's castle. Time for a bit of an annoyance. There you are, Wily. What? Really? You're doing this? There's a wall behind you, you know. Oh! Really should have seen that coming. Either way, welcome to this game's version of the 4 capsule room from Mega Man World 1. Difference is, these don't just lead to bosses, they lead to entire stages. And those who are familiar with this stage from Mega Man 3 know who we're up against next. We're going up against Needleman. And honestly, his stage is more or less the exact same thing it was, but abridged. It got a lot of the hedgehogs this time around, though. And I'm not sure why you would go down there for that weapon energy. It's not worth it. Really, a lot of the enemies in this stage will be taken out by a Metal Blade or two. I'm just not using it for some reason. Because you may have noticed it by now, I've even mentioned it before, but I'm one of those players that rarely uses special weapons for some reason. I don't even know why. I guess in my mind, I guess I'm trying to conserve ammo for the bosses, though in that case, I really should only not be using the weapons that they are not weak against, that the Robo Masters are not weak against, but everyone has their own playstyle, I suppose. This is just how I've always played. Though the moment I'm at a boss, boom, that weapon is getting whipped out. I don't know why, though. There we go. Now I'm using Metal Blades. Metal Blades are really useful in this game. Then again, they've always been useful, aside from Smash 4, where they are probably the worst neutral B in the game, in my eyes. Mind you, I rarely ever use neutral Bs that aren't Samus's Charge Shot, or Ganondorf's Warlock Punch, or Corrin's whatever the hell that is. Actually, now that I think of it, when I use my mains, I actually use neutral Bs a lot. Huh. Well then. I have just picked apart my own statements. Welp. By the way, once you're here, this stage is honestly really easy because there's nothing that can really kill you aside from these very stilophatic looking things. But they're easy enough to dodge because they're very predictable. And hey, a Hammer Joe. They are not interesting. In fact, they're actually a bit more annoying than the Mega Man 3 incarnations because they take a bit longer to kill in my eyes. And time for Needleman. Needleman, as far as I can recall, is weak to... Let me see, do I have any weaknesses? Air Shooter, I suppose. Was he weak against that? I forget. Yes, he is. I believe this guy also has another weakness, which is, does he? I forget. I forget if the Mega Man 2 Robo Masters actually have two weaknesses in this game. I can believe them having it. Yeah, I don't know. I need to see who's available on the Robot Master, on the, level select stage again. Stage select, there we go. My verbal linguistics are more messed up than usual today for some reason. Either way, we get Needle Cannon, which is just a more powerful Mega Buster, shoots a needle straight forward. Oh, that's why we don't have a stage select. Actually, now that I think about it, the person who Needleman was weak against in Mega Man 3 isn't in this game, so I guess they do only have one weakness. Either way, if you're a fan of Mega Man 3, you recognize that the next guy is Magnet Man. And his stage is, yet again, more or less the same. It even has the reappearing, disappearing blocks later. Those magnet enemies are pretty vanilla, though. The only thing they really try to do is suck you towards them, but hey, free E-Tank! Yeah, that's something that this game brought in that Mega Man 1 didn't have. Mega Man World 1 didn't have at all. The E-Tanks are now in the game. Like in the console games, you use it and you get a full energy restore. Not to your weapons, but to your life. There's no way to restore your life, your weapon energy completely until Mega Man World 4, I want to say. That sounds about right. Also, is it just me, or do a lot of the Mega Man 3 enemies look a little derpy in this game? Because I see a bit of derp in them. Ah, well. These things, they're like the one there in the middle of the screen. What those do is that they actually suck you towards them. However, unlike Mega Man 3's Mega Man stage, they are rarely ever dangerous. And really, the reappearing, disappearing blocks aren't a threat, because you're required to have Rush Jet by this point, so I don't quite see the point of having them. Unless you really want to take the challenging route, but why would you? Heck, in some cases like this, you could just rush Coil over the damn things. Mind you, it takes me a good try or two to get up there, but you can do it. Magnet Man stage is honestly not really worth your time. You have to play through it all the same, but nothing interesting about it at all, really. And I think we're almost done with it, too. Ooh, nice reserves there. Must get energy tanks. Sadly, all of the Mega Man World games share one thing with E-Tanks, and that's you can only store 4 of them like Mega Man 2 on the NES, which is kind of stupid, but I can see why, because not only are these games a bit shorter, but enemies do less damage in comparison to your lower life bar, so, Either way, time for Magna Man. He is not weak against Spark Shot this time, but instead Needle Cannon. And the good thing about Needle Cannon is that it is quite the rapid-fire weapon. Magna Man, like Mega Man 3, is fairly pattern-based. He likes to jump a lot, go into the air, and then fire 3 magnets at you, which then home in on your location. Every 2 or 3 of these volleys, he'll go into this little magnet mode, which takes you towards him, which is not very threatening at all, because it just leaves him open to attack afterwards. And that's the end of Magna Man once again. And like Mega Man 3 on the NES, for beating him we get the Magnet Missile, which fires forward from your Mega Buster and then will change its direction vertically once it reaches an enemy, in order to hit them. It's actually feasibly very useful, but I rarely use it, because I just rarely use Robot Master weapons. Either way, next up, we want to go after the one in the top left. And if you played Mega Man 3, you probably don't recognize this stage because they changed the texture from rocks to stone. But the moment that enemy shows up, you probably know who we're going after next. We're going after Hardman, who is honestly the exact same in terms of stage and battle. A lot of his enemies are brought back from Mega Man 3. Including, weirdly enough, those little things in the ground, these things. I don't know why, because in some cases it's almost impossible to get hit by them. But I'll take it. Although I really like this song. It doesn't sound anything like Hardman's original theme unless it's very deeply buried in the melody of this one. But it's such a good song in my eyes. Oh, gee, that one-up's worth it. Though I can say for a fact that while I wasn't a big fan of Mega Man World 1 soundtrack, Mega Man World 2, while it's still not fantastic, you can see the beginnings of a Mega Man soundtrack in it. You know what I mean? Like, unlike Mega Man World 1, this sounds more like a classic Mega Man game soundtrack. I think the first one to get that soundtrack thing right was probably Mega Man World 3. And here I am, wondering if I should go get that life or was it weapon energy, but I decided nah. Because it would have wasted our time. And here's that little thing I was talking about with weapon energy. You can change, and you can change weapons in the middle of it, and it'll refill both a little bit. That's useful, albeit it could be a bit abusable. But I don't know of a way to abuse it, so I'm good. Also, weirdly enough, unlike the console games, if you get damage on ladders, you can hold up and you'll still climb on them instead of just falling off them completely. That's a weird little difference. And here we are at Hardman. He is once again weak to Magnet Missile, so get that out. And Hardman more or less works the exact same way he did in NES. He fires his 2 fists at you, which home in on your location, then they go back to him. Then he jumps in the air, lands on the ground, and you are stunned for a few seconds, even if you're jumping. The Magnet Missiles once again do attract to his hands as well, but honestly, he is about as easy as he was in Mega Man World, Mega Man 3 Classic. You know what's messing me up about that title thing? It's because it's not a new series. It's just a continuation of the Classic series on the Game Boy that I constantly just fudge the titles. Now, if I was comparing X and Classic, I'd have no problems at all. Well, I'll probably have a problem, but that's just because I talk too fast, and therefore my brain can't quite keep up sometimes. Either way, once again, we get Hard Knuckle, which fires your fist forward. And I believe, like Mega Man 3, you can aim it up and down by holding the up and down the D-pad by when you're firing it. And those who have played Mega Man 3 definitely recognize this stage. Next up is Top Man. And sadly, his song isn't as good as the Wily Wars remix. But it's another underwater stage partially, so more Rush Marine abuse. Cause I ain't dealing with reappearing and disappearing blocks today, sir. And I believe that's actually the end of the underwater stuff. Yay! Either way, Top Man's stage is actually very easy in this game. Nothing too standout difficult about it, especially if you have Rush Marine. Which, well, actually, you're required to have Rush Marine at this point. They might have noticed something just there. My weapon energy hasn't refilled. That's right, I completely forgot to mention this until now. Unlike normal stage selects, when you go back to stage select, your, let me restart the sentence. You know when you go back to a stage select in the Mega Man game, your weapon energy is refilled? In the case of these 4 stages, that does not happen because you're not going back to a stage select, you're just warping back to a previous part of the stage. So you have to make sure you can do all these stages on 1 bar of weapon energy, unless you can refill it with weapon energy you find in the stages. So you need to be a bit more conservative than usual. However, thankfully, it's nothing too hard. And by the way, that cat's entirely pointless because you get the bonus anyway. What is the point of that cat? Although honestly, looking at the stage design now, it's probably the most reminiscent of its NES counterpart because there's a lot of borrowed stage elements, like this little curve here was in the original. And I remember that being a very annoying thing to dodge there as well. However, thankfully, this part of the stage is much easier for me because I actually have Rush Jet this time around. Because usually when I'm playing Mega Man 3, Top Man's the second person I go after, so I don't have Rush Jet for that. And now here we are at Top Man, who is weak against Hard Knuckle. And very much like Hard Man, Top Man is almost the exact same as he was in the NES game. He starts on one side of the room and fires 3 tops into the air diagonally from him, and they home it on your location. He does that once or twice, and then he spins around in a circle. What this does is that it makes him invulnerable, and then he'll head over to the other side of the screen. Very easy boss. Honestly, you could probably Mega Buster him with no problem at all. And for beating him, we once again get Top Spin, which I never use at all. What that does, that when you, well, first off, you can't use it on the ground. You have to use it while jumping. And Mega Man spins a lot, and it does damage. It's actually pretty useful against small enemies, especially in the classic Mega Man 3. But in Mega Man World 3, I never use it ever. And down here, we get this game's Mega Man killer, Quint, who is the lamest boss out of all of them. He gets on his little Jackhammer Soccer Garne, there we go. And then just does this over and over again. And as for his Mega Man base bio, it's a bit interesting. Dr. Wily has captured Mega Man when he came from the future and has remodeled him. Good point, fortune telling. Bad point, time zone fatigue. Likes excavation, dislikes himself. Due to that time machine that Wily stole, he went to the future and kidnapped another Mega Man. And for some reason, it became much less ineffective due to the fact he gave him that Jackhammer. Which, for beating him, we now get that Jackhammer, Sakugarne. Which is not too useful. Pretty much Mega Man gets on the Jackhammer like Quint was, and you can jump on enemies to damage them. However, in most cases, like the boss that is weak against it, you take damage for being on top of them, and once again, Wily, really, another Space Fortress. Mega Man 10 is seeming less and less original the more I play these. Either way, time for the final stage of the game, which is the only other part of the game aside from Quint that makes you think, right, time machine. Oh, wow, I just realized, this stage's theme is the title theme. Huh, cool. Well, at least it's a good song. Either way, like a lot of Mega Man games, the final stage is more or less a compilation of everything you've had to do throughout the adventure thus far, reappearing, disappearing blocks, and a lot of stage hazards are recycled here. It's nothing to really worry about. Yeah. You know that you're in for one interesting game when I'm out of things to talk about on the final stage. Though I suppose I should talk about why did they think it was necessary to make new Mega Man games for the Game Boy? I mean, I can understand because it's a successful series, yeah, but if they're going to do that, why did they... I think I mentioned this back in Mega Man World 1, even though I just recorded that yesterday, so I really should remember. But why did they just not make new Robot Masters for these games? I know that's like 8 Robot Masters for each game, but if they're not going to put in the effort that much, then why even make the games at all? Because the Robot Masters are half the fun. Because, you know, they're the boss fights, and the boss fights are usually really fun. And when you're playing a game, you want satisfying bosses, otherwise you don't feel like you're progressing that much. So, why? Nah, I'm never going to be able to get into Capcom's head, so I might as well just stop there. I'm not sure if you can progress in this section without Rush Marine. I do not think you can, actually, looking at the stage design now, so that's kind of weird, but thankfully you always have Rush Marine. Well, not always. You get it after beating one specific boss, but you have to beat that boss to get here, so yeah. Though I should mention, like Mega Man World 1, this game uses a Mega Man 3 onwards password system. So, thankfully, you can actually play this game like a handheld game. It's supposed to be played in multiple short bursts. Also, I hate this jump. I get it after 2 or 3 tries, but it's actually surprisingly tricky to either land on rush or that reappearing, disappearing block. Thankfully, one thing I can say about Mega Man World 3 is that from that game onwards, the Mega Man World games are a bit more interesting. Not to say that Mega Man Worlds 1 and 2 are disinteresting, but they have... I don't know how to say it, really. They're not as entertaining as their counterparts of the NES, I guess is the way to say it. Mega Man World 3 feels like an authentic Mega Man game throughout in my eyes, though it still has some strange design choices. Mind you, the entire series has design choices that are a bit odd. Also, at this point, don't worry about using E-Tanks. If you have 4 of them, go ahead and use up to 2 of them throughout the stage. Save the last 2 for the final boss, though, because that's going to come in handy. Also, yeah, have you noticed something's missing still? Still no boss rush in this particular game for some reason. I think the first Mega Man World game to bring one in was 4? I think? I don't know, I haven't recorded that. It's been a while since I last played that. So I guess I'll see when I get to recording that, like, tomorrow or so. Either way, here we are at the final boss, and it's Dr. Wily's various mechs. They're all weak against 2 things, Sakugarne and the Mega Buster. However, like I mentioned, when you use Sakugarne, well, first off, to damage him with Sakugarne, you have to jump on the dome. However, doing so damages Mega Man, so the Mega Buster is the overall better choice. Once you reduce it to half health, it'll switch phases. And by that, I mean, well, the entire thing gets destroyed, more or less. And then he'll switch to his next mech. This happens twice. Each mech has its own pattern, but they're all fairly simple. And also horribly disproportioned. We're not even at the game's Wily machine yet. That's the 3rd phase. Phase 2 is more or less more moving left to right, though this one only fires those little atom bombs. And these weird little energy pellets that look like Pharaoh shots, but they're extremely easy to dodge. And time for the 3rd and final phase. Phase 3 is the final boss from Mega Man 9? Huh. Either way, this one's fairly easy as well. It just fires bullet bills at you and then some atom bombs. And then the face tries to touch you, but that's nothing too important. It's very easy, though. Fun little fact. This is the only Wily machine in the entire Mega Man World series that uses the skull motif. All the rest actually generally more so use a mustache motif, which is kind of odd. And that's game! Mega Man, what are you collecting from them? And somehow Wily got away from that. I don't know why, he was right there. And weirdly enough, he actually did collect something from it. Mega Man got... Bullet Bill. That's a bit of gameplay story integration, I guess. And then we just murdered Wily. No, seriously. He should not survive that. Also, how does the mushroom cloud become a skull? That makes no sense, but I'll take it because video game. And this song sounds very ominous. And now it sounds happy, though very ear-grating as well. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Mega Man World 2. How is it? It's more or less the same in my eyes as Mega Man World 1's. It's entertaining and charming and such, but it has a few quirks, and the boss rooms rather, still feel a bit too cramped to fight normal bosses in. However, I can say for a fact it's easier than Mega Man World 1 and a bit easier to pick up as well. If you want to play this, it's on the Game Boy and the 3DS Virtual Console, so you can still play today for fairly cheap. I think it's only like $5, so I'd say it's worth a shot if you're a fan of Mega Man. With that, next up though is Mega Man World 3, which, once again, is going to be one video. Like I said before, I think the first one that's going to be multiple videos is probably Mega Man World 4, because that's the one that tends to be a bit different than the first 3. Though I think they almost all end with an enemy roll call, weirdly enough. I forget who actually made the games. I know I'm gonna look that up. Megaman World 2. Actually, no, World 1, I think, because the World 2 was developed by a different team nearly entirely. Let's see, Megaman 1 was developed by Mitakuchi Engineering, who I think did the other 3 besides 2, and 2 was developed by Biox. So that was actually technically published by Capcom. Huh, weird. What about the others? I'm just gonna check to make sure. Of course, if I type in Mega Man World 3, Battle Network stuff shows up. Why am I not surprised? I probably should have thought about that first. There it is. Let's see. Mitakuchi. Yeah. Mega Man 2 is the only one developed by someone else. Which might have to do with its difficulty curve, actually. Huh. Thinking about it, that's the main problem I have with the Mega Man World games. Is that while they are great games on their own, they seem to lack identity of their own, because while they may have shared engines occasionally on the NES, Mega Man 1 through 5 feel like their own games. Well, Mega Man 1 through 6, rather. And even a lot of the fan games have their own identity going on, whereas these just feel like, at times, just copies that they've just rearranged the stages in. Which, mind you, still makes them good games, but it's hard to say, really. Also, if you haven't noticed it at this point, these games have very long enemy roll calls. They could have done it the Mario World way and have multiple enemies on screen, but no, they each have to slowly scroll on and off screen, and that looks phallic. Also, why is Mega Man levitating? Did he accidentally throw himself out of that space station so hard he went into orbit? No, out of orbit, because he's out in the stars. Also, gotta love how, even though they translated a lot of enemy names, they didn't quite translate them, you know what I mean? Yeah, see, look, Clashman. A lot of them are just romanizations of their Japanese names, which is a bit odd, but I'll take it all the same because we didn't care back in the day. And we care a bit too much nowadays, if you ask me, because I see a lot of people getting up in arms about slight translation changes, where I'm like, guys, localization has to happen, otherwise it's not as accessible to the common audience. But that's just me getting into my old game design stuff. Good lord, these take forever. Mega Man looks kind of bored there, doesn't he? And with that, I believe I'm absolutely, completely out of things to talk about, which is good because there's only another minute to this video. There are points to doing games in one video, because in some cases it just means that you're just getting them out of the way quickly. But at the same time, you really run out of things to talk about when you're going in one straight line like that. Though I suppose I have to wonder, what's with Quint? I mean, I know he's Mega Man from the future and such, but since we stopped Dr. Wily, does that mean that Quint no longer exists as Quint, but Mega Man? Does this work off Back to the Future logic, or which time travel logic are they using here? Because that's an interesting topic to go off of. But time travel is also hopefully convoluted. No, hopelessly convoluted. That's, I mean, it's banned in China for a reason, I suppose. And here we are at the end. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys in Mega Man World 3. If that would stop scrolling. Thank you. See you guys then.